Perhaps tomorrow I could borrow a horse and have a look around. Such an odd feeling. Driving up to the house, he comes standing by the door to welcome me. I've done it so many times in my imagination. The clock struck the hour as we drove up. I even seemed to recognize the sound of the bell. You're tired.
I'm not tired.
You're half asleep.
No, I'm not tired. I'm really not.
Will you please stop being so polite and get up and go to bed?
And that's a clip from My Cousin Rachel. It stars Rachel Weisz. I'm delighted to welcome Rachel to the programme. How are you, Rachel?
I'm well. How are you?
It's My Cousin Rachel starring Rachel Weisz. And it's based on the Daphne du Maurier book from 1951, which I have to say I've never read.
I hadn't read it before I did this film, so I missed that day in school too.
All right. And what did you think when you read it?
Well, because it was written in the 1950s but set in the 1850s, it had, it was true to period in lots of ways, but it also had these very radical ideas where this character Rachel believes in sexual freedom, financial freedom. She doesn't think that she should be the possession of a man through marriage, and so it has sort of like, post-Freudian, like pre-feminist themes in it, which make it a little more edgy than, something that had been written in the 19th century.
Is that what appealed?
It definitely made me more interested in it. Yeah, that it had a bit of a modern edge to it. Yeah.
It feels like, it's bizarre because clearly it's set in the 19th century, but it feels like a contemporary piece and you feel like a contemporary woman, maybe for precisely the reasons that you just outlined.
Good. I think that's a really good thing. I think it's great that if you put that character in the context of the 19th century, it makes kind of a good cocktail. I mean, put her in the 1960s and it's maybe less fascinating, but there's something about the restraint of the period and the fact that she's quite shocking to those around her and different. It makes it, it gives it a little edge.
So to those completely new to the story, just explain how the cousin Rachel fits into this tale.
Well, my character has been living in Italy, and I've married a man called Ambrose who's died suddenly of a quite mysterious tumour in his brain and has gone mad. And I come to England, to the place that he was from, and I meet his cousin, Philip, who's a man in his mid-20s and looks exactly like my dead husband. So from my character's point of view, it's very extraordinary to see this young version of my husband. And he then proceeds to, well, initially he wants to murder me because he thinks that I've murdered his cousin.
One of the things I loved about the film is that we know what the title is because we've just seen it. We've heard about the book. Maybe some people have read the book. Maybe we saw the original movie. But for the first 20 minutes of the film, everyone talks about you, but you're not there, and everything is leading up to your arrival. And I thought that was quite extraordinary and very well done. You know, the tension when you arrive on this fabulous estate was something to behold.
She's described, there's a lot of gossip about, a lot of rumours that she's been extravagant financially, she's been sexually extravagant. People say, is she a witch? Is she a harridan? Is she fat? Is she thin? Is she cruel? Is she... So there are all these different kinds of points of view about this woman that one is yet to meet, yeah.
And when you leave the film, I think people will still be trying to work out what kind of woman she is. And I'd be interested to know how you would describe her. Is she damaged, do you think? Is she damaging others? Is she controlling? Give us a few thoughts as to how you wanted to play her without spoiling anything.
I suppose the story is this woman moves in with this young man and he falls in love with her, and the question is, he falls madly he really loses his mind.
He does. He loses everything, doesn't he?
Yeah. He's nuts. He's absolutely nuts. It's his first time he's ever been in love, and the question is as to whether she is poisoning him, essentially, or whether she's a black widow,
well, she does
mantis.
love her herbal teas.
She loves her herbal teas. The question is she poisoning him? That's the kind of, the gothic, suspenseful thriller aspect to the film. Or is she giving him very healthy tea that's good for his health and he happens to get ill anyway? I had to make a decision in order to play her, obviously whether she was guilty or innocent of this crime. And Roger Michell, the director, said, please don't tell me. He didn't want to know, so he wanted it to remain a mystery for him too. But I had to decide in order to play her. So in answer to your question, who is she? It depends how you see her. So
that's interesting. So you decided for yourself,
yes,
based on the screenplay or the original book or both?
Based on
your intuition?
My intuition, based on my intuition. Yes. To me, it seemed quite clear after some thought.
But how fascinating that the director didn't want to know.
He didn't want to know. He still doesn't know. I'm going to take it to my grave.
And I'm not going to ask, but in the course of the film, and you've hinted at this, we are told that you are notorious. Always by other men, obviously. We're told you're notorious and that you have certain appetites. So those men who maybe are controlling and maybe they're not, they're kind of leading us in one particular direction.
Rumour, gossip, projections. And you as the audience have to make up your own mind. And I've met people who've watched the film who've been argued very passionately for her innocence and then very passionately for her guilt, and they feel sure, and they point to bits in the plot which back up their theory, which I think is really. And I've met some people who are ambivalent. They say, I don't know, I have to think about it, I'm not sure, I'm on the fence. I love that about it. I love that people are getting into passionate debate about a story. It's lovely.
And I must say, now I'm thinking about it, I'm not sure either. Okay. So I think that's really good. But I wonder, is that a rare thing when you're getting into a character, to keep this sort of central idea secret from maybe everybody on the cast and certainly the director? Have you ever done that before?
Never. No, this is a first. Yeah, I mean, no one was asked me about my secret until now that the film's come out. So I was just merrily telling the character in the way that I thought it should be. No one was asking me. I don't know even, I saw Sam Claflin this morning, who plays Philip, and he said, of course he had to make his own decision too as to what he thought. And I don't know what he thought.
So you didn't even ask each other?
No, we didn't discuss it. It was very private and mysterious.
I read an interview with you in which you said, you were talking about watching films, I think with your son, but you said, what I see is a lack of women with appetite. About the women that you're watching. Well, that's certainly not what they're going to get in this, because whatever else she is, she's certainly a woman with appetite.
Yeah, she's full of appetite. And when I said appetite, I didn't just mean for, it could be for something immoral. It could be an appetite for anything. But just, I think appetite is an important quality for a character, for a human to have. And I think it's more often bestowed on male characters than female.
Do you think they're judged differently still? Men and women. I mean, again, I think in the same interview, you said that we expect a likability in a female character that we wouldn't from a male.
I feel that's a more recent thing. I mean, if one looks back at like films from the 30s, 40s and 50s, like pre-feminist films, women were allowed to be immensely complicated and unlikable and difficult. I mean, think about Betty Davis, Barbara Stanwyck, Katharine Hepburn, Elizabeth Taylor. I mean, they're very complicated women that are definitely not just nice or sweet or kind. But I think in stories there has been a lack of complexity in a lot of female roles.
And you are you have moved into production, and you buy books, the rights to movies, and I wonder if that's part of trying to find more characters, not only that pass the Bechdel test, but also women that if they're complicated, then they're complicated, and if we don't like them, then we don't like them, and you just have to take it.
Yeah, and it's not even about being an unlikable character. It's just a character who's not just likable, that they're complicated, and they can irritate you a bit or make you think. The reason I think I started going into producing was that I didn't know how to do it when I was younger. Now I think I know what my taste is a bit more. So started the first film that a book I optioned, we finished at the beginning of the year. This adaptation of a book called Disobedience by Naomi Alderman.
I would imagine being a part of the process then from the very beginning, presumably to the filming and the acting would be an enormously satisfying experience, to be in control.
Yes, I mean, it's not even, I suppose it's in control. It's just part of the conversation from finding the novel to finding the writer and the director and the crew, and just being part of the texture of how a whole thing is made. It's flexing different muscles, and it's very immensely fulfilling. I don't really feel in control or in charge. It's kind of takes a village to make a film, but I'm part of the conversation all the way through, and now we're in post-production, and it's really fascinating. I love it. It's very fulfilling.
We look forward to seeing that. I think My Cousin Rachel is the second of your movies that I've really enjoyed this year. I spoke to Tim Spall about Denial, which I just think it's worth mentioning again, because I think it's a really important film, and it's sort of drifted away from people's consciousness. But the character that you played in there, Deborah Lipstadt, who's then sued by David Irving, and it's a courtroom drama, but I thought it was a fantastic film and with wonderful performances, and I just want to sort of remind people that it's out there, because it seems to me, like I said, an important film.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think we didn't realize quite how relevant it was going to become with Trump and Shelley-Ann Conway speaking about alternative facts, which was a phrase that she made up after the film came out. I feel like that's not such a big deal in England, but obviously in Britain we're experiencing America, aren't we?
We are, yes, that's right. I'm just steering a strictly neutral path on this particular day.
Yes,
but that's.
Yes.
I think you can talk about American politics. I think that's all perfect.
The notion of relativism
yes.
about facts, just alternative facts, irrespective of which party you.
No, exactly, and truth and provability and all that. Anyway, I think if people haven't seen Denial, they should really.
If I didn't just send them to sleep with that, then...
No. Absolutely. We've got some listeners' questions here. You might have wondered why I was getting my phone out and thinking this is incredibly rude, but that's the reason.
I'm used to it. 2017, everyone's getting their phone out.
Okay, Jason Parks. I love Terence Davis's version of The Deep Blue Sea. Is this 2011, something like that? I'd love to hear what connected most with Rachel. Was it the Rattigan script or working with Terence Davis?
Great question. I mean, I think it was the meeting of the two, and Terence adapted the play, and it was very into a film, and it was incredibly personal to him. He's a very emotional filmmaker. He cries off, in the wings of the set, and
is that right?
And laughs. Yeah, he's incredibly emotional. I mean, Hester Collier, who I played, was him. I think he identified. As a gay man with a woman in the 50s, his identification was very powerful. Sometimes I had to say, Terence, I'm playing this. But I think he's a master filmmaker and a really extraordinary director.
Kevin Lindsay's question. I was a big fan of The Fountain, which was not a financial success, but I'm interested to know if Rachel has seen the finished film and what her opinion of it is. I feel it's been underappreciated. It's the only film I've ever rewatched immediately to try and garner a better understanding. Also enjoyed The Brothers Bloom, which was similarly overlooked, so same question, really.
I absolutely have seen the finished version of The Fountain, yes. It's not really a mainstream subject matter. It's about a man coming to terms with death and the search for the elixir of eternal youth. And I don't know. Maybe it should be mainstream. I shouldn't have said that. Yeah. Why isn't it more mainstream? I don't know. It's an extraordinary film and a massive riddle. And Hugh Jackman gives an amazing performance in it. Yeah, very proud of it.
And if you're talking about mainstream, this is a mainstream question, okay, from Paul Cleveland.
Okay.
Has Rachel or will Rachel watch the Tom Cruise reboot of The Mummy?
Well, I have to watch it. I have to be part of the conversation. Yeah, I need to know what they do with the franchise. Absolutely.
Yeah. Excited to watch. I mean, you weren't offered a small part, maybe?
No, not at all. No phone call about that.
Rachel, we appreciate spending time with you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
And thank you very much indeed for talking to us.
Thank you for having me.